1997, Rare revealed Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Quest as two upcoming platformer titles for the Nintendo 64. Nintendo and the Stamper brothers Tim and Chris had been anticipating Banjo-Kazooie as their big holiday 1997 N64 title in every sense of the word. Nintendo of America even went as far as to team up with Taco Bell for a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign centered entirely around Banjo-Kazooie meal toys and other gadgets. This, however, was a horrific, alarming moment for the Banjo team, as they knew the game was nowhere near ready for an end-of-the-year release. How were they going to explain this to Nintendo, who was already full steam ahead churning the marketing wheels? It sent the team into panic, hysteria and tears. They eventually had to come clean and admit the game needed an additional length of development. Thankfully, the Stamper brothers had an alternative holiday 1997 game to swap out Banjo-Kazooie with, known as the secretly developed Pro-Am 64. Pro-Am 64 was very far along in development but was never revealed to the public. The secrecy surrounding Pro-Am 64 was insane, but Nintendo execs got their hands on it in private at E3 1997 and were very impressed. As such, Nintendo approved, and Banjo-Kazooie would be delayed. Wild Cartoon Kingdom was the initial title of the racing game, before being rebranded as a new installment in the Pro-Am IP. However, unlike the NES original RC Pro-Am which featured remote-controlled cars, Pro-Am 64 was a cartoon mascot racer that took heavy inspiration from Super Mario Kart SNES starring Timber the Tiger. The Stamper brothers expressed concern that Pro-Am was not marketable enough of a brand to be the big holiday season game, as opposed to the explosive sales and craze around that era when the Donkey Kong brand was enormously profitable and a real cash cow. As such, the Stamper brothers approached Nintendo asking if they could license Diddy Kong and utilize him as the star of Pro-Am 64. Nintendo were absolutely thrilled and jumped with joy at the idea. Nintendo was completely on board with the request with so much excitement that Rare was taking pride in their very own creation, as Nintendo believed dev teams should do so in their culture. Diddy Kong was approved of with Nintendo's full enthusiastic support. Diddy Kong would now be the star of the game, moving Timber down to a supporting cast member. Diddy Kong Racing, formerly Pro-Am 64, was in development at the same time as Conker's Quest and Banjo-Kazooie, two platforming adventures that would not be out in time for the end of 1997. So Rare would familiarize players with the characters in the meantime and create a shared universe between those series. Conker's Quest, later retitled 12 Tales, until being reworked as Bad Fur Day, would have been Rare's first fully published and trademarked game had it released before Pro-Am 64. Noticeably, Pro-Am 64 initially had an alligator named Crash in the game, not to be confused with Crash the minecart riding Donkey Kong Country Kremlin. As such, for the sake of brand consistency, the alligator had evolved into Crunch the Critter Crocodile, and Nintendo would copyright Crunch. Nintendo also had the copyright to Banjo. Diddy Kong Racing became Rare's very first game that they had developed and published themselves with full copyright legal rights to. But Nintendo had trademark ownership to Diddy, Crunch, and Banjo. Diddy Kong Racing was announced in September 1997, and released only 2 months later. Taco Bell did not have enough time to incorporate Diddy Kong Racing as the placeholder to Banjo-Kazooie. Instead, they reworked their holiday season Nintendo-affiliated advertising campaign with general Nintendo franchises and the Nintendo 64 system on the whole. With franchises such as Mario, Yoshi, Star Fox, GoldenEye, and even Donkey Kong who didn't even have a Nintendo 64 title yet. Diddy Kong Racing was a critically acclaimed installment, often said to have even surpassed even Mario Kart 64, which came out a year previously. 800,000 copies were ordered in the 2 weeks before Christmas 1997, making it the fastest-selling video game at the time according to the Guinness Book of World Records. If the game had remained as Pro-Am 64, it still would have had the same critical reception, but not the same sales numbers without the Kong branding attached to it with Diddy Kong. Banjo-Kazooie released in June of 1998, 6 months added on from the original planned release, in order to perfect the game. That is all for now, thank you for watching.